Happy Friday!
Darling, this show has got a serious tinge to it.
Serious tinge?
A tinge, yeah. What's a tinge anyway?
Well, exactly, it's a colour thing, isn't it? I mean, just we digress, but we have to talk about Annie's dress. Is it a dress, Annie?
We do.
It is.
Ooh.
Oh.
I know, you don't see me in a dress very often.
No.
You look lovely.
Lovely boobs. Well, actually, that's a segue.
Very good segue.
Very good. Go on.
This show is all about boobs.
Boobs and breasts.
Boobs.
We do that.
The most wonderful, wonderful breast surgeon called Victoria Teoh and her patient, Jane. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Lovely to meet you both. Victoria, I have actually met you, and Jane, delighted to meet you. I've heard all about you and the fantastic journey. Well, I say fantastic, but it's been a turbulent but successful journey.
Yes.
With the lovely Victoria, who discovered something that you weren't expecting.
Hi, everyone. So I first met Jane when she came to me seeking removal of her breast implant and looking for an uplift procedure. I'm a dually qualified plastic surgeon and breast cancer surgeon. So, this procedure and women looking for this procedure form a core part of my business. As part of the consultation, I routinely ask women who are above the age of 40 whether they've recently had a screening mammogram. Now, this is just essentially, if you've not been for a mammogram before, it is an X-ray of your breast to make sure that there's no calcifications or breast cancer. So the guidelines are that women above the age of 40 should really be having this. Not every plastic surgeon does this, but certainly it's a big part of my practice to make sure that women are safe. So during Jane's journey, we went through this process. We spoke about what she could expect from surgery with regards to the breast implant uplift, but she also had a mammogram. And fortunately or unfortunately, we discovered that she had very, very early stage breast cancer.
I went for my mammogram, and a few days later, I got a call from the hospital saying that they had discovered a cyst and some calcification. Not to worry, because it's quite common apparently in women that are over 50. So, but obviously still having that conversation and that telephone call was quite a shock, and really sent me into pretty tough place, shall I say. So I sort of it was not knowing what to do, basically. So you hear this information, you think, well, what do I do? I've just got to wait. So I'm not a very patient person, to be honest. So I just phoned the hospital, I phoned my GPs, and they were great. And I saw my GP that night, basically, and he said, obviously I can't do anything, but as soon as we get some information. So that was sent through, and then I was referred to the NHS hospital local to me, which that's what I did, and I went to see them. There was a bit of lack of communication from one hospital to another, so that was sort of added to the journey, shall I say, because you go there and expect them to have all the answers, and they, I had to have a scan and I had to have some other bits and pieces, but they couldn't tell me everything because they didn't have all the information from my mammogram. So it was a bit like I had to just sort of wait, and again, the waiting is the most difficult thing, because I know you've got to, but and everyone was saying it's okay, you're going to be fine, but it's so I then went back to Victoria's secretary and sort of spoke about that, spoke to her, who, and they were really, really supportive in that way. But it was, again, just wait. Victoria was away then, so I waited to see her. But it was very quick. And basically they explained, what a calcification are, the cyst, etc. I then was told I had to go and have a biopsy. So again, the word biopsy threw me into panic, because again, I didn't know what to expect. Didn't even know what a biopsy was, really, shall I say. And I was very mindful that I didn't Google anything, I thought that's one thing I'm not going to do. So because obviously you just read awful things and it, you know, makes it even worse. So had the biopsy, which again was, it didn't hurt.
No.
It didn't hurt, but it was just surreal.
Worrying.
Completely. It was just you're there and everyone's so lovely and they're so supportive, but it's you going through it and you just sit there and
it's the worry, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's because it's so unknown and they're saying, well, this is what we do, and you know, and you believe them, but some of you doesn't believe, you know, because you just think, well, why is this happening? You know, it was very much, and it's a real cliche because, and everybody says it, you know, but it was, this doesn't happen to me, basically. You know, I'm a mum, I've got my kids, I've got my grandchildren, you know, and all these things, and it doesn't happen to me. But, you know,
it's a shock.
Well, Victoria and I were talking the other day, and not every breast surgeon says to have a mammogram.
No, absolutely.
And I think the ethics of you, Victoria, is fantastic.
Oh, I mean, I think Victoria and I and her team, we've had these conversations so many times. It's so simple, but it was, you know, it was so important, if you know, in that way. And I couldn't believe it's not
Standard.
not, you know, that's the standard, exactly.
Yeah.
People won't say to anybody in the situation, you know, I was going on a health journey this year. I thought, right, this is what I want to do. I want to, you know, and all these things, and literally, you know, within 3 weeks, my world had completely changed. It was like, well, this wasn't meant to be. But, you know, I look back and I do, and I'm so grateful that, you know, I did have this done. And, you know, for a really small amount of money, it is, you know, I say it changed it saved my life. I don't know if it did that, but in some ways, most definitely, if I'd have left it till my next mammogram, my oncologist has said I would be in a completely different place.
Yeah,
there you go. Caught it early.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wonder if your instinct was there already, because you know you decided to have this removed.
I mean, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
It was really weird because it was, as I said, it was the beginning of the year, and I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come off HRT. I'm going to have, you know, my implants taken out, and this is what, you know, I want to do. Victoria, luckily for me, is local to me. So, you know, obviously I didn't know Victoria, but she stood out to me most definitely. And, you know, again, I will be forever grateful.
Yeah. Isn't it? Absolutely. One can make a difference, you know, to the outcome. You know, if it wasn't Victoria, it would be someone else, you know.
Well, and I think what's happened as well, they've, with this journey, because I had to then have another biopsy, because Victoria, again, she phoned me one day when I was at work and said, look, we've, you know, there was a radiologist that was with her and they found something, and I was due to have surgery. It was like, no, everything's all okay now. I can come and have everything done. And literally they found this other, it was just, I don't know what they called that, shadow, whatever it may be, I'm not sure, sorry. And I went down, literally, she phoned me, I went down, I was in within an hour having another mammogram, basically, and it identified there was another area. So I then had to have another biopsy, which I wasn't expecting, but, you know, again, you know, and that was another huge shock. But again, it was a different type of biopsy, and I've learned quite a lot, shall I say. And again, the staff were fantastic, and they hold your hand and they do these things, you know, that are so tender and mean such a lot, that it was incredible.
I think the good thing that you did was that you listened to your body. I'm going to come off all of these things. Your body was saying something's not right. And I think that's what we all have to do, is listen to our bodies. There are certain times you think, God, I've got to stop doing this, or this has got to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, it's very important, that because I think more than anything, we all know our own bodies, really.
Yeah.
But you didn't expect that to happen. But I think
not at all.
Victoria said, you know, you've got to do this. Otherwise, I can't ethically move forward. That's the thing, isn't it? Which was so fantastic. What about, how had a reconstruction now, Jane?
So I had, so I went in the beginning of September, and I had 2 lumpectomies, and then I had my implants removed, and then uplift. So it was all done together, basically. So quite a lot of surgery in that way. But Victoria made it seem very simple, shall I say. And I was out the next day, which I could not believe. So that was good. And I was really, really worried about the pain, but which, I don't know, I think that was just a thing that I could really focus on, if you see what I mean. But it was okay, shall I say. It wasn't as terrible as I imagined it to be. And I've seen Victoria every week, I think every week for 4 weeks. And last week was the last time I've seen her. She signed me off basically after 6 weeks. Brilliant.
So what was the total duration from start to the present time?
So when I first had my
discovery,
discovery, that was, so I had the mammogram in early July, so about the 3rd, something like that, and then was diagnosed on the 31st of July, and then had my surgery on the 11th of September.
That's brilliant. So what happens, Victoria? I'm very interested in people that have their implants removed. What actually does happen when you remove them? Are some of them calcified? Are they stuck?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, implants we know aren't lifelong devices, and anyone who tells you differently is selling you something you shouldn't be buying.
Yeah.
They can degrade over time, they can leak, they can rupture, or more commonly around the implant, you can get a film called a capsule. And over time, that capsule can contract. That can cause a change in your breast shape and even pain. So it's probably the most sought after procedure that I see. Women who have had implants and they've done their job, they were very happy with them at some point in their life. But then they want to go back to a state of health, prioritizing well-being, and they're essentially just done with implants. So if you just take out the implants, then what you're left with is essentially a very droopy, sad and empty breast. And I do say it that frankly, because it's important that women know what they're getting with surgery, with and without the uplift. So what one does when you take out the implant is then essentially rearrange your breast tissue and remove any excess skin so that you restore the breast into sort of a pert breast that has a nice breast shape. And like I said, I think the trend now is for more women to go for removal of implants for health reasons than, the overinflated look.
Yeah.
Does this happen to women like 40 above, or when do you feel that you like women? I know as a trainer, women change between like 35 upwards. They go, what's happened to my body? I feel this, I feel that. Over 40, they start again. They change again. Over 50, they change again. We change every decade, don't we? So when was yours? When did you feel like I need to have this out and I need to get this? What age were you? If you don't mind me asking.
No. I mean, I would say in the last couple of years. So I was just 52, 53, and because obviously of the menopause, your body changes and you put on weight, and it was, that they were completely different, shall I say, size-wise to what they were when I had them done when I was sort of 25, and I just wasn't happy, and I just, and that was it. And when I make my mind up, and I go,
well done. Well done.
The thing is that I had a breast uplift. I didn't have anything put in. After giving birth, and my second daughter, I've breastfed for 13 months, and she was like a monkey. She'll really be glad that I've said that. She literally used to hang on my breast. And then after, sort of the feeding, I used to have to roll them up. They were so big. And then they ended up like spaniel's ears. And so I ended up going to a great surgeon for an uplift. And I said to him, please make them smaller. And he's absolutely not. You will come back to me and want implants if I make them smaller. I'm just going to reupholster them, which is what you're saying. So, and honestly, the whole thing changed my life. It was the most fantastic. And my daughters now say to me, Mum, you've got better boobs than we have, because because they've been so good as, you know, as uplifted boobs, and they really are fantastic. It's an incredible thing. But I was lucky. I mean, I didn't have implants. Well, I didn't need them. You know, it would have been ridiculous. But at some point, and that's only quite recently, a lot of people would not give you an uplift without an implant. What do your boobs look like now?
Yes. Yeah, they are. It's really fun because they're a really good size, because that's the thing, you don't know when you have this done, you have no idea what size they're going to be. So it was, you know, but I was just like, well, obviously when I found out, you know, with the cancer, it was like, oh, actually, I don't really care what they end up like, to be honest. You look at it differently. But no, that says, yeah, it's great. I can now get in some clothes that I had before that I couldn't get in, if you see what I mean. And I wear little strap tops within.
Do you have a support group, Jane? Who do you get your support from, and who do you talk to?
Well, there's Breast Cancer Now charity, is obviously they've got an app and a website, and you know the links there are amazing. To be honest with me, I sort of dealt with this by myself. I don't know why, it was just the way I dealt with it, to be fair. I've got a close friend that had breast cancer twice, so she was really, really supportive. So, you know, I wasn't really ready to pick up the phone and just say to somebody, oh, can you help me? Whether I do that after it's all over, because again, they have support, you know, when it's all finished, basically, perhaps I'll be more ready, but I'm still a bit tender.
I must ask Victoria, do you think that the implants cause this?
That's a really good question.
Good question.
So there's no evidence to show that implants cause breast cancer, because we know that breast cancer is very common. It affects 1 in 7 women. It's, you know, we know that majority of breast cancer is detected early. So here's a plug for everyone here. Please attend your mammograms if you're of that age, because we know that early detection saves lives. Okay. What we do know, however, is that there is an increasingly recognized cancer associated with breast implants. And it's been noticed across all types of implants, all brands of implants, and it's something called breast implant-associated lymphoma. Recently, there's one called squamous cell carcinoma as well. So it does happen. It's about 1 in every 40,000 women. But do I think these breast implants cause for breast cancer? There's no evidence to suggest that. But actually, I'm starting a new series on YouTube called Breast Surgery School. And the aim for that is really to educate women on what to look out for. So just this week, we did how to perform a breast examination, because we find that most women either aren't examining the breast or examining the breast incorrectly. So,
and how old? I mean, do very, very young women get breast cancer?
Absolutely. Breast cancer does not discriminate. Okay, so you can get breast cancer in your 20s, 30s, but more commonly in your 50s to 60s. What we do know is breast cancer that affects young women, these young women tend to have a very strong family history of breast cancer. And if not, we tend to also perform genetics to see whether they're carriers of, for example, the BRCA gene. So, you know, the important message is you should always examine your breasts. I'd do it monthly at the same time each month, because the texture of your breast can change throughout the month due to hormones. And it's usually best to do it after you've had your period if you're still having bleed, because then your breasts aren't so tender and you can do a proper examination. So when you examine a breast, the easiest thing I can say is to think of your breast as a clock face, okay? And you want to examine all the way around the clock. And the most common mistake that women make is that they dig into the breast and they feel this way. But what you're going to do really is use the flats of your fingers to sweep along the breast in circular motions and sweeping motions, just to see if you can feel any breast lump. Women also sometimes forget to examine the lymph nodes in their armpit. All the breast tissue drains into the lymph nodes there, so it can present in the armpit. And of course, we can't forget to examine just behind the nipple, because breast cancer can present there. But please go check out the either my Instagram or my YouTube channel, because it's all on there. And after Jane's chat today, I'm definitely going to be having a series on what is the biopsy, Jane, since it petrified you.
A lot of women now, when they have had breast cancer, they go for reconstruction surgery straight away. Is it possible to have a reconstruction without an implant?
Absolutely. Look, breast cancer is very individual. Okay, so it also depends on the woman's body habitus, the size of their breast, whether it's just the one or is it multiple cancers, and also biology of the cancer. Is it sensitive to estrogen or not? So yes, to answer your question, absolutely, it's possible to go for reconstruction straight away, and that's certainly something that we advocate as breast cancer oncoplasty.
And you don't need implants to have your reconstruction.
You don't necessarily need implants. You can either use your own body tissue, either from your tummy, your inner thighs, or just recruiting tissue from next to the breast, what we call little flaps.
And that stays.
Yes, the beauty about using your own tissue is that it grows and ages with you. So if you gain weight, it gains weight with you. If you lose weight, so does it. It's warm, it's supple, and it feels natural. Whereas an implant, we know, is a foreign device that will age with time. It can leak, it can rupture, it can move. And almost certainly anyone who has an implant surgery, be it for breast augmentation or reconstruction, they will need some kind of revision surgery within the 15 years.
And also, if your mother has breast cancer, it's good for her to pass that down, or ask your mum, isn't it? Because it's inherited, isn't it? Generally, it's quite a high risk.
Absolutely. I mean, having a proper family history is everything, because then it knows what, the genetic element of breast cancer can be very strong.
Wow.
I know my son had cancer, and we had a whole family, checkup, as you say, just to make sure,
And here's the other thing. Many people think that only women can have breast cancer, but in fact, men can have breast cancer also.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
But Victoria, where can we find your, is it YouTube you're on?
Yes,
Just
exactly.
give us all your handles, as the actress said to the bishop.
Yes. It's Breast Surgery School. So if you just have a Google or a YouTube for me, it's Breast Surgery School, Victoria Teoh, and it will pop up. It's a nice, colourful, pink, fitting colour, really, pink channel.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thanks, girls.
Thank you very much, Victoria and Jane.
Thank you. We'll see you again soon, Victoria.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. I think that was really informative, and what we need, isn't it, to know is that knowledge is power, as she said.
Absolutely. I'm due my mammogram. I missed it at the beginning of the year because I was working with Debbie.
Yeah.
But
It's always my fault.
it's always your fault.
Always your fault.
Rebooked it. I have to say, I don't like having it done. But
They're not pleasant, are they?
they're not pleasant. But
Wonderful.
yeah, the last time I had it done, it was a really lovely nurse though who just said, "Right, I'm going to get you to breathe in a particular way," because you feel so trapped, don't you? But
It's better than a bloody smear test. That's all I can say.
That's true.
And
that's
on
true.
that note, okay, guys. Well, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Have a nice-
Bye.
Bye.